KCRG TV9, Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
This is TV9 Eyewitness News for Thursday, May 17th, 1979, with sportscaster Gene Rich, weatherman Denny Frere, Doug Cryle, and John Andrucci.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. In tonight's news, they called it Emergency Exercise Sunshine 3. We're talking about an annual test of responsiveness in case of a nuclear accident at the Duane Arnold Nuclear Center near Palo. George Dorman has a report showing what would happen if there had been a real incident.
Just before 8 o'clock this morning, according to the drill scenario, hydrogen waste gas exploded at the plant, sending radiation into the air. Within minutes, agencies concerned with such accidents had been notified, and authorities were sent to the field surrounding the plant. The wind was blowing west. Then came the decision to evacuate.
The plant is here. We're going to go a mile wide path 5 miles west.
All traffic into or out of the plant area was stopped.
We're stopping all vehicles going in and out of the plant and checking for radiation. We checked with a regular meter and stuff. It was an actual drill, but it's just a test. So, okay, you're free to go. Okay.
Downwind radiation levels in the air were monitored.
This is off-site Team C, reporting nothing above background in the south sector.
The drill gave Mercy Hospital a chance to check out its equipment donated by the nuclear plant to treat a worker contaminated in the explosion. 3.5 hours after it started, the drill ended. Those in the field said things went well. One said he thought response would be even faster during an actual alert. George Dorman, TV9 Eyewitness News.
Workers at a Waterloo weapons plant are worried about radiation dangers on their job. Bureau Chief Bob Aaron reports tonight the company maintains there is no danger from the radioactive shells. But the workers, well, they're still concerned about the long-term effects of the low-level radiation.
This is Chamberlain Manufacturing in Waterloo. The company has developed an armor-piercing anti-tank shell, and it has also developed a controversy. The shell uses a dense radioactive metal tip to punch through tank armor. The company says there is no danger from the depleted uranium, but union officials want workers to have the option of not working with the material. So far, the company says no, but it will allow the union to send in its own safety expert to investigate.
We wanted the company to allow employees to work on this on a voluntary basis. We have a number of women out there of childbearing age, and we would prefer that these women had the opportunity to refuse to work on this until the complete knowledge of the effect of low-level radiation is known, which it is not at this time.
Officials here at Chamberlain emphasize there is no danger from the radiation in the projectile heads. They say they'll have more evidence later this week to back that claim up. Bob Aaron, TV9 Eyewitness News at Chamberlain Manufacturing in Waterloo.
A little boy playing with matches. He gets the blame for a fire that totally destroyed his family's house on Cedar Rapids' northwest side this afternoon. 6-year-old Jeffrey Lewis was on the back porch when wind caught the flame of a match and ignited the house. His father, 37-year-old David Lewis, was sleeping in the basement, and he got out safely along with his daughter. No one was injured. The Red Cross is helping the family with shelter and necessities. And John, you have some follow-up information tonight on another accident in eastern Iowa.
That's right, Doug. It was just 24 hours ago that a sailboat with a psychology professor and 2 grad students struck a power line on Lake McBride. 1 was killed and 2 remain in fair condition. The question is, why was the 72,000-volt power line strung across the lake? Jim Lyons has a report.
1937, when it was strung, it was probably shorter, therefore cheaper than going around the cove. It crosses over a small rocky inlet on the downwind side of the lake. No place for a sailboat. Most sailors on the lake know about it and steer clear. It's the only wire that reaches across open water, but it wasn't always.
These power lines belong to Lynn County Rural Electric Company, and they come right down to the water's edge here on the north finger of the lake. Then they submerge and cross it underneath, but they didn't always go under the lake. The same accident happened right here 8 years ago.
When I gained consciousness, I realized that I was on the bottom of the lake, and I swam to the surface and saw my boat hooked on the high wire that ran across the north arm of the lake at that time. Well, I received some burns from because I was sitting on the edge of the boat, which is metal.
Marty Andrus just happens to be the president of ADN Corn Sweeteners, and by coincidence, he was named to the IE Board of Directors only 2 days ago. Still, why didn't IE learn a lesson from last time?
Some senior people here in the corporation, people who have responsibilities for the operations of the company, the operations of that portion of Iowa Electric's lines, and they were not aware of an accident that happened 8 years ago.
Andrus never reported the incident. The line stretches 23 feet above the water. Hobie's mast stands 26 feet tall. Federal regulations require a 34-foot clearance, but the deadline for compliance is 1981. IE told us they'll raise it by then.
There are no scars on the cove to show where Brad Graff died. 2 others almost lost their lives. It's a good windy day, but there are no sailboats on the lake this afternoon. The electric lines still stand over the cove. Jim Lyons, TV9, Eyewitness News.
An armed robbery attempt this afternoon in Centerville. When it was all over, a Centerville man had been shot, and an escapee from the Iowa State Pen was captured. Gas station attendant Carl Larson was shot during the robbery attempt. He's in stable condition tonight. Officials say 24-year-old Gregory Earl Jones pulled the gun on Larson and shot him when Larson asked if the robbery attempt was for real. Jones was serving time for second-degree murder and assault with intent to cause serious injury. What to expect at the gasoline pump? That story when we return.
And we'll meet a football player who has brought his business skills to the streets of Cedar Rapids.
With us. Dream about owning a home with a comfortable family room. A home with lots of room for a growing family. And a big country-style kitchen for yourself. Think you can't afford this dream? You can if it's a Skopman home. Because Skopman is Iowa's largest home builder, they can give you more for less. Tour a model home today and make your dreams come true.
Consider a classic, the 1979 Pontiac Grand Prix. Bruce McGrath has 6 Grand Prix, superbly equipped and specially priced, but only 6 at a price of just $59.97. Equipment includes automatic transmission, power steering and brakes, air conditioning, tilt steering wheel, AM radio, white sidewalls, and deluxe wheel covers. But remember, there are only 6 at a price of just $59.97 while they last at Bruce McGrath Pontiac in Cedar Rapids.
Dandelions are tricky little devils. Did you ever try digging one of these things up? Watch this. If you don't get the whole root, it just grows back. That's why Scott's makes Turf Builder Plus 2 weed and feed. It gets rid of the whole dandelion, root and all, while it helps thicken your lawn. So use Turf Builder Plus 2. Look, what you'll get is a nice thick lawn like that. And that sure beats this.
Well, here's the latest on our gas price and supply situation from the Iowa AAA Motor Club survey. Prices are up and a few more stations are curtailing service than we saw last week. But just one station reported being totally out of fuel, and it's the same station that was out last week. Self-service prices, well, an average of 79.2 cents for a gallon of regular. That's up about 1.5 cents from last week.
And gasohol sales have fallen off for the first time since the fuel was introduced in the state last June. That was the word from officials at the Iowa Development Commission today. Doug Snyder of the Commission's Agriculture Division says some of the leveling off of gasohol sales can be attributed to fluctuating alcohol inventories in April. Gasohol has a 10% alcohol content. But Snyder says the biggest factor is the lack of unleaded gasoline. Since the stations receive limited allocations of unleaded gasoline, there's a corresponding limit on the amount of gasohol that can be blended and sold.
A small group of demonstrators picketed the state social services district office in Cedar Rapids today. They were protesting some proposed changes in the Aid to Dependent Children program. The way it stands now, ADC payments and eligibility are refigured every 6 months. But a new proposal called prior budgeting would require monthly questionnaires to determine if you're still eligible. These people say that requirement would put an unreasonable burden on many, as well as denying money to the needy. District Director Roger Reed says prior budgeting would reduce errors in payments, and he emphasized the program would not go into effect till next year. But one organizer said she doesn't believe that.
And I know as a fact that what they're saying that is going in effect in next year or year after next is happening in a couple of months. We want a meeting before it happens. We want Lynn County to have a meeting.
Citizens for Community Improvement were at it again today. Still trying to make someone listen to their complaints about poor housing conditions on the southeast side of Cedar Rapids. Sandy James has more on the story.
These Southeast Side residents got together today and supported Nancy Lint for Lady in Blue. She can't get adequate insurance on her house because of this house next door. She says it's a fire trap. Local insurance companies won't give her coverage at all, so she got what she could get from an insurance firm in Dubuque, but it wasn't enough. In 1977, she got a federal grant for $5,000 for home improvements and said she'd like to do more, but figures why spend the money if she can't get the insurance to cover it. Last night, this group and several others took their complaints to Al Ahern, director of the Lynn County Health Department. He referred them to Ed Winter of the Building Department. Today, they went to see Winter at City Hall. He referred them back to Ahern. The group was tired of being given the runaround, so they went to Cedar Rapids Fire Marshal Phil Saunders. Saunders told them he would have his men inspect the area. Sandy James, TV9 Eyewitness News.
And they're already packing up to go home at the University of Northern Iowa. The spring semester officially closes Saturday with commencement, but many students have already finished finals. Student service and administrative offices will immediately switch to summer hours. It's back to class with summer session, and that starts bright and early at 7:30 in the morning, Doug, on June 5th.
John, it's just about the end of the school year for the elementary students in Cedar Rapids as well, and 1,500 sixth graders from the CR School District kind of had an end-of-the-year mini field trip this morning. They went to the Paramount Theater for a taste of what ballet is all about. The Dance Theater of the Hemispheres gave the students an idea of how ballet students prepare for the big event. It was the first time the entire sixth grade class of the school district could experience this art form. The response was good. In fact, it was so good, they hope to make it an annual event.
Governor Robert Ray has announced the cabinet members who will be in Cedar Rapids next month for the Trade and Export Conference. Among others attending the conference will be Ambassador Robert Strauss, Secretary of Agriculture Bob Berglund, and Labor Secretary Ray Marshall. They will be featured speakers at the conference, which will include governors, business, farm, and labor leaders from 15 Midwestern and Southern states.
Well, free enterprise is alive and well in Cedar Rapids. If you've been downtown the past couple of days, you might have spotted what we did. A new business near the corner of 2nd Avenue and 3rd Street Southeast. It's a shoe shine stand. Alita Cruz has the story.
His name is Bobby Jeter. He cleans and polishes shoes. He's been at it now for 2 days here in Cedar Rapids, and business is going very well. Yesterday, he had 22 customers in the afternoon, and today looked even better.
A lot of people just come by and pass by and look and see where you are, and then they get the idea that they can want the shiny shoes at home, they can bring them here, and I go on my way then. Shoes, a lot of people like to do it, see. And to me, it's a job, and it's something that I like to do.
Bobby doesn't use any fancy gadgets to get shine on leather. He uses store-bought polish, a brush, a good cloth, and lots of elbow grease.
I think it's just the way that a guy handles the shoes and what he does to it. See, I usually put 2 good coats of polish on the shoe and brush them off real good and use a rag. I think the rag is the biggest difference in shining shoes because a lot of people like to hear it pop and some people don't, and I can make it pop a little bit.
And after the job is complete, he has 75 cents for his efforts. He's certainly a master in his trade, and if you want some proof of his work, just look at that shine. Alita Cruz, TV9 Eyewitness News.
Gene Rich is next with sports, including a look at the Regis Royals baseball team and a preview of a pivotal game in the battle for Stanley Cup supremacy.
Angie, wait till you hear this Cascade Challenge.
Can't hear ya. I'm reading about Cascade's challenge. They want me to buy Cascade and compare it to my brand.
And if I still like my brand, they'll send me 50 cents.
In cash. They must get dishes practically spotless if they're that sure of themselves.
If I like Cascade, they'll send me 2 50-cent coupons.
2 for Cascade.
Great, huh?
What? Tell you later.
The Cascade Challenge. See your newspaper for details.
Toyota has challenged us to sell 55,000 new cars and trucks.
And we want to make this the biggest Toyota sales event ever.
So we're forgetting the stickers during the great once-a-year Toyota Sales Challenge. We know you want to save money, so we're dealing now on clean-running total economy Toyotas. Prices may never be lower.
If you can find a better deal on a great small car, make it.
We bet you can't, so don't wait. See your Toyota dealer during the great once-a-year Toyota Sales Challenge. Open late this week.
At Century 21, we're experienced.
We're here to help. We know just what to do.
At Century 21, we're professional.
We're the neighborhood professionals for you.
We've got the know-how in real estate to get the job done.
We'll give you all we've got, 'cause you're number one.
At Century 21.
We're professional, Daddy.
We're the neighborhood professionals for you.
Well, when we're right in the middle of a real stretch of summertime weather, temperatures into the 80s, it's really hard to believe that we're still seeing basketball and hockey action.
It's like digressing back to ice again, I know. Game 3 of the Stanley Cup Championship Series is set for the Big Apple in New York City tonight. The New York Rangers will entertain the Montreal Canadiens at Madison Square Garden with that series tied at a game apiece. The Rangers took the first of two with an impressive win in Montreal, then the Canadiens bounced back in Game 2 to win it easily. That was a win over the Rangers in Game 2 at the Forum. 4 games are on the Major League Baseball schedule this afternoon, 2 in each league. In the American League, the Indians beat the Blue Jays 8-3. Toby Harrah, a pair of homers in that one for the Indians. Elsewhere, the White Sox lead the A's in the 5th. In the National League, the Expos-Cardinals game suspended with a tie 2-2 score because of travel commitments. And at Wrigley Field in Chicago, the Cubs got beat by the Philadelphia Phillies in an unbelievable game, 23-22. Mike Schmidt hit 2 of 10 homers in the game. The second one won the game for the Cubs, and the 45 runs scored in that game by both clubs comes 4 runs shy of tying a Major League record. You don't see many triple plays in Major League Baseball these days, but the California Angels will just as soon see them all the time if the result of the game is the same. Boston Red Sox pulled off one against the Angels last week, but the Angels won the game. Last night it happened again. Bobby Gritt set a grounder to Milwaukee's third baseman Sal Bando, forcing Joe Rudy. Bando threw to second, forcing Carney Lansford, and Brewers second baseman Paul Molitor's relay was in time to get Gritt, but the Angels won the game by a score of 4-3. The Regis Royals and the Cougars of Kennedy High School are playing a high school baseball game at Kennedy right now. We'll have highlights of that game at 10 o'clock tonight. The Royals got off to a slow start this season, but are coming on strong now. Won a big game over Jefferson earlier this week.
After we got a late start because of the weather and stuff, and we don't have a real good field to play on. And we're starting to come around now, get some good weather and good pitch, and we're going to win some ball games, I think.
One of the finest four-legged athletes in the world is one of only 5 horses that were entered today for Saturday's running of the Preakness at Pimlico, the second leg of racing's Triple Crown. Spectacular bid. The 3-year-old that won at Churchill Downs in the Derby will be challenged by General Assembly, Golden Act, Flying Pacer, and Screen King. If tennis is your game, some of the better tennis courts in Cedar Rapids will be ready for play soon. The city is finishing resurfacing some of the courts with an asphalt base and Laco outer surface at Veterans Memorial Tennis Center here. 7 of the 10 courts at Vets have a Laco-type surface. The other 3 courts are clay. The 7 hard surface courts will be open this weekend for free play. The tennis center will be open for the season on June 2nd. Bad news for the University of Missouri today. Missouri received a letter from the NCAA saying that an official inquiry is underway. The investigation apparently deals with an alumni group at Missouri that is paying off the contract of former head football coach Warren Powers that he had at Washington State University. That investigation involves the interpretation of the NCAA Constitution. Jerry Tarkanian, the head basketball coach at Nevada, Las Vegas, is once again in some trouble. The Nevada Supreme Court today reversed a decision by a lower court judge blocking the decision, suspension, that is, of Tarkanian. Tarkanian was suspended by UNLV after the NCAA placed the school on 2 years probation for a long list of violations in connection with the basketball program there. There's a new softball team about to make the scene in eastern Iowa, and we're sure it's going to be a major influence in the area this summer. This team has been holding secret drills in recent weeks, but wanting would-be competitors to kind of stay away and to keep the whole thing a secret. Then, too, the coach doesn't want word to leak out about the leaky spots in the defense or the weak spots in the offense. But to be perfectly honest with you, this is the KCRG softball team made up of members of our staff. Our first scheduled game is June 3rd. We'd like to help dedicate the newly named Harley Steele Field in that diamond at Ellis Park. But the KCRG softballers are looking for other games as well. If you're interested in playing some benefit games with us, with other slow-pitch teams in the area, we'd be happy to play any team on the schedule. Our scheduled games, of course, are very much up in the air, so call us here at KCRG TV in the sports department, and we'll try to set you up with somebody who can help you.
When you watch photographer Brian Cohen pitching, there is no doubt that it's slow pitch softball. When we come back, music in the park, a backyard circus, and we'll take a trip to the great outdoors in search of the wonderful morel.
Firestone announces the price of $19.79 on the Firestone Deluxe Champion polyester. Now through June 2nd only, this smooth-riding, long-wearing 4-ply polyester tire starts at only $19.79. The Firestone Deluxe Champion 4-ply polyester from 1979 at Firestone stores and participating dealers now.
We challenge you to test drive the all-new Mercury Marquis. Compare Marquis' new standard of driving comfort to any other full-size car. We challenge you to compare room. Marquis has more combined passenger and trunk room than any Buick or Olds. We challenge you to compare ride. Marquis corners flatter, takes dips and bumps with greater stability than last year's Marquis. Yet Marquis has better mileage ratings than you might expect in a car with this much room and luxury. The all-new Mercury Marquis. We challenge you.
Tour a Hames manufactured home with Kurt and Norman. When you see how spacious it is, you'll say,
I'm surprised.
And when you see the luxurious extras like this wood-burning fireplace, you'll say,
a real fireplace.
But the biggest surprise will be discovering how little it costs to own, heat, and maintain.
Kurt, we really can't believe it.
We can. Norma and I have been offering this spacious, affordable housing since 1969.
Let Kurt and Norma surprise you. Hames, the homes people.
It was a dandy day for fun and games in the outdoors, and that's exactly what these youngsters did today. It was the annual springtime circus at the Happy Hour Preschool on Center Point Road. And the kids had a great time. Many of them dressed up as circus animals, and others put on a number of circus acts ranging from acrobatics to tightrope walking. Delighted parents of these young performers shared Circus Day at the preschool. And I think a standing ovation is in order for Denny Flurry's forecast for today's weather, but we'll save the applause for the end. Denny?
Nuts. I don't get many of those either. Beautiful day, John. Perfect for a concert in the park in a green square in Cedar Rapids. The Franklin Junior High School band was there, and the people enjoyed it. That applause was for them, not for me, but it could have been, however. We had highs today into the 80s, lows, upper 50s, low 60s, and so far, no precipitation. Note, I'm saying so far. Well, we are detecting a rather heavy, although narrow band of thunderstorms from extreme northwestern Iowa, just grazing into the edges of Iowa, on up towards the Twin Cities, and there they're getting some very strong winds and damaging hail, so we can expect that to move to the southeast at around 10 miles an hour. Now here's a satellite today, and you're going to see some cloudiness on the east coast. That's a storm system moving away from them, but some cloud cover building up in the midsections over the plains. This is due to a cold front charging down from the northwest. Of course, we had all this warm southerly airflow laden with heavy moisture content, and in those clouds there's some precipitation. Yesterday, highs in eastern Montana and the Dakotas into the 70s and 80s. Today, 50s and 60s. Now, that frontal system is just about to enter Iowa, and as it does so, we're going to get these two very distinctly different air masses working against each other, and that could set off a few occasional and scattered showers and thunder showers. Of course, it'll take a while to get to eastern Iowa, so we can look for our first chance of that late in the day tomorrow, and then continuing after that for a couple of days. Shower activity going on from Texas all the way up through Kansas, and of course those heavy thunderstorms to our north.
Lots of people sleep lots of ways. Whichever way you sleep, Inner Space has the right waterbed for you. Inner Space has been in the waterbed business longer than anybody, offering you more popular styles, more sizes, and more waterbed knowledge. When you want to sleep, sleep with us. Inner Space. So many nice surprises.
New Orleans jazz.
And there's no beer like a Milwaukee beer.
Did somebody mention Milwaukee?
Whenever they mention the town of Milwaukee, you think of beer.
When you think of beer, the ones to count on is Old Milwaukee beer.
Old Milwaukee is named after the city that means beer. And every Old Milwaukee tastes as great as its name.
Old Milwaukee!
This spring, choose from the lawn and garden values from True Value hardware stores to help you get things growing and keep them under control. Keep grass neatly trimmed with Diston cordless lightweight shears featuring non-stick blades. Control the growth and shape of shrubbery with the Rockwell 16-inch hedge trimmer. And trim a 6-inch path anywhere in the yard without bending and stooping with True Temper's lightweight cordless True Trimmer. Get all these values at participating True Value hardware stores.
Well, it's done it now. This cold front has entered Iowa, and of course there's quite a temperature contrast behind here. 74 degrees at Sioux City, and that's 10 degrees cooler than what it is at Spencer. The winds will be shifting to the northwest as it rolls on through, but in the meantime they're strong from the south, gusting at times to 30 miles an hour. Relative humidity 34%. 85 degrees in Waterloo right now, 77 in Dubuque, 86 degrees at Cedar Rapids and in Iowa City. Those winds are going to be calming, however, as that front gets closer tonight. So that's one good aspect to our forecast. And here's the rest of it. Those winds calming 10 to 15 miles an hour, partly cloudy, and lows down very mild tonight, 60 to 64 degrees. Tomorrow we'll see a day with variable winds, partly cloudy, and thunderstorms as the clouds bunch up late in the day, 81 to 85. That's a little bit warmer than we could normally expect this time of year. Tomorrow night, variable cloud cover, a chance for thunderstorms, 50 to 55 degrees. Now, the next several days, a cooling trend will take place due to that frontal system being through by the weekend. A chance for showers on Saturday, then back to beautiful weather, partly cloudy on Sunday, Monday, and on Tuesday. Things into the mid-70s, and it is going to be a delight. And much easier on this reporter.
A day like today just seems to get the adrenaline just pumping through the veins. You know?
They call it spring fever.
Oh, it's nice. Thank you, Denny. See you back at 10. Mushrooms. I love them sauteed and a little teriyaki.
Have you ever had these mushrooms? These are delicious. You talk about spring fever. Each spring, masses of eastern Iowans head to the hills like bees in search of nectar. What are they looking for? It's the mushrooms. Tom Friedman takes a poetic look at one family that hit the mushroom jackpot today.
They say there's gold in these hills, not the mineral kind, but something just as valuable if you're after the elusive Epicurean delight, the mighty morel mushroom. And so, like prospectors on the prowl for shiny round nuggets, the Bob Johnson family and friend took off today for the backwoods area of Delhi to ferret out this fabulous fungus. And there, in the blowing blades of grass, one is spotted, that precious, perishable object that makes Iowans salivate. With the quick slash of a knife, morel is conquered.
Kind of a challenge to get out in the woods, and we like to be outside, and we like to eat the mushrooms, so it's kind of a challenge to go out and try to find them, and it's kind of like fishing.
Just the anticipation of eating them, I guess, makes it all worthwhile.
By the end of the morning, the Johnsons had a sack full of morels, proving their persistence paid off with pay dirt. Tom Friedman, TV9 Eyewitness News, Delhi.
Looks good this time of the evening. On the update tonight at 10, we'll show you what barbershop-style singing is all about, Iowa City style.
And also, we'll update redevelopment plans for downtown Marion.
Plus, I'll have part 4 in my series of reports on protests at the University of Iowa nearly 10 years ago.
This has been TV9 Eyewitness News.